So I think we can start, right? People can join while we because like this we have more time to ask questions. And so I will start just presenting very quickly about our community, Voices. So Voice is a non-profit company created by the World Economic Forum in Cambridge and Dublin hubs. And here at Voice, we believe when women support each other, we can cross the, we can cross boundary of gender inequality in public and professional spaces. So through hosting those events and those trainings that we also provide during the year, we pretend to help early career women to navigate the job marketing or even their lives as well. So we create authentic and safe space for women to speak up, speak loud, and speak together. And today I'm very honored to receive Patricia here to speak about a very important theme that actually is very close to my heart. I was telling her because I went through all those things as well. I believe everyone that's here today somehow went through something similar. So maybe you thought at some point, am I really good enough? So this question always stops us, like to think that we are not capable to leading projects or asking for promotion. So it's a very important theme for us that want to grow. And I'll leave the space now for Patricia to introduce herself. And thank you so much for being here again, Patricia.
So, hello everybody again, and welcome. I'm super excited to be in here talking about something that also is very hard to my heart, because it's about this imposter syndrome that I suffer for many, many, many years, and definitely didn't help me to progress as much as I wish I could. And yeah, I will tell my story towards the presentation, and then you will see how that evolution and how that happened. But before that, let me tell you a little bit about me. Let me just move and go into. So let me know if you have any questions or anything, because I'm going to move to my presenter. Presenter one, and I'm not going to be able necessarily to see all of you. But anyway, so who is Patricia? You can read a lot of things here, and these might sound like, wow, she's amazing, she has been doing so many things, but the reality was quite different. When I see my career for many, many years, I was always feeling that I wasn't good enough, that people was going to realize that I wasn't what I say I was. And then something happened about 7 years ago when I realized that if I'm not changing, nothing is going to happen. So I wanted to be that version 2.0 of Patricia that I knew I was having insight, but I didn't know how to do it. Like, was that moment that I have that waking up and say, hello, something needs to change. And then funny enough, the majority of the things that you can see here as my achievement happened in the last 7 years. So it's totally possible to shift your mind and to start seeing things and different things. But not always was like that, as I say to you. Like 7 years ago, from the outside, I was looking like a very successful career woman, working in one of the biggest online fashion companies. And I don't need to tell you which one, you can see there. And I was within a career path that I chose and I love. However, the reality was that I was completely burnt out after years of trying to show my true value, working really hard and hoping that someday my boss was going to offer me that promotion that I knew I deserved. But this never happened. But my stubbornness to demonstrate that I could, and my resilience spirit, which usually all of us that are immigrant women from different minority appears always, and the fear of going out and find a new job keep me in the same place, doing the same thing for years, until someone else decided, the company decided to make me and all of my colleagues in my same position redundant. And just a few months before, I was supposed to receive my yearly bonus that for years I didn't get any. And that hurts, but a lot. But that day, I decided that I was going to start looking for or leaving that version of myself behind, and a new version, that Patricia 2.0 that I told you, was the one that was going to show off in my next job. And then the rest is history. I found a new job, and within 4 years, I got promoted twice. I have 4 pay rise, 3 additional bonus cash bonuses, a team of 15 people working with me, and loving every minute of my job. And you can see that I was able to win a couple of awards, talking in global conference, having interviews, working or speaking in places like Microsoft, like Airbnb, like 7-One. And all that happened because I decided to change, to shift something inside of me. And that, as I say, just happened these 4 years. So by the end of this masterclass, you will have the tools that I use to become this person that I am today. These 2 times award-winning migrant leader, public speaking, and leader in tech in my industry. And hopefully you will get away with practical tools that will allow you to silence that voice that is telling you that you are not enough, and that's syndrome that we think we have. So now, if you are anything like I was, you might be sitting there thinking, this sounds great, Patricia, but can I really change? I have been struggling with this feeling for years, and maybe this is just who am I? Like, this is me. Or maybe I've tried to feel more confident before, but no matter what I do, it feels like nothing really sticks. So what is going to make this time any different? So let me stop you in that feeling right now, because I want to let you know that I have been exactly where you are. And I know what it is to feel stuck, to feel like no matter how much you achieve, it's still not enough. And to silence that little voice that we have, that for years, I was thinking maybe I'm not just good enough or cut for this. And I always was thinking, if I work harder and harder and I wait longer, something will magically happen. But the reality is it didn't. But I realized that I wasn't broken, because for many, many years I thought was something wrong with me. And you are not either. Because the truth is, those doubts and that fears aren't in who you are. They're just really habits of thoughts and patterns that we pick up along the way. And as you know, a habit can be changed. And I will be honest with you, like, the change doesn't happen just sitting with the awareness of the problem to say, oh, I know I have this problem. It happened when you take action. Messy, imperfect action. That is when the change really happens. And that is when the real shift begins. And that is actually what we're going to focus today. Hopefully I need to go through a lot, but we will take the first step to break out those patterns. And I will show you how you can start building that confidence that you have been looking for. So if you ever felt like you are the only one struggling with this, let me tell you that is not true. It's everybody, or a lot of people. And let me tell you a little bit of stats, and let's talk about that. Because what is at the end the imposter syndrome, or what is the belief or the definition of that? And it's commonly defined, and I'm going to read this, as the psychological pattern where people doubt their accomplishments and fear being exposed as a fraud, despite the evidence of their abilities. Sounds this familiar? Like, like everybody feels like that. And research show that 70% of people experience imposter syndrome at some point. And here's a kicker, is disproportionately affect the women, especially those from underrepresented groups like immigrant women like me. By the way, I didn't say that, but I'm originally from Venezuela and I have been here for like 20 years, but still I know I'm an immigrant. So for me, imposter syndrome shows so many times in meetings when I felt that I wasn't good enough to speak up. And also I remember exposed to a meeting where I was supposed to be the facilitator, and I didn't know how to do it, to be honest with you. But being Latina and resourceful as we are, I tried to fake it until you make it, and it was awful. And then that feeling of imposter syndrome thinking stay with me for months. But this is where I want to challenge the narrative. And for me, I want you to think, is imposter syndrome really a syndrome? Is it really something wrong with us? Because that word of syndrome is like, is something wrong with you, or is something else? And I'm going to tell you what is my theory. Bear with me. For me, imposter syndrome doesn't exist. That is a complete myth. It's fake. It doesn't exist. And I tell you a little bit of evidence of that, or how all this started. Did you know that the original concept was proposed in 1978, or published finally in 1978 by two female psychologists, Pauline, let me read the name, Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes, and they call it imposter phenomenon and not syndrome. And it was until the appearance of social media that the concept of syndrome came. And as Kame explained in a fabulous, amazing article in the New Yorker, the phenomenon is an experience rather than a pathology. And the original originators of the concept, they are completely disagree with calling it syndrome. And their aim was always to normalize this experience rather than pathologize it, as we call it. And this is what I think that doesn't exist. So let me ask you this. How many times have you thought, oh, that is imposter syndrome? And then nothing happened. It's just like, sorry, I have imposter syndrome. And then you either get paralyzed or you just recognize that you have it and that's it. Nothing happened. And that is the trap that many of us got into, because awareness is important, that you identify, oh, something is making me here, but this is only step one. Think of like when you need to exercise to get fit, right? You recognize the need isn't enough. You need to, you know that you need to actually do the work. And the same goes with the imposter syndrome. You need to do something really about it. So I'm going to give you 3 questions to get you to get to the root of this. When we have this feeling, the first question is, what I'm actually afraid of. So don't stop into, I have imposter syndrome. So what I'm actually afraid of is a failure, is afraid of judgment, or not meeting my own expectations, or the expectations that I think someone else have about me or my work. What story I'm telling to myself? Like, I'm convincing myself that I'm not good enough, even when the evidence says otherwise. The majority of the time when I ask people, is that true? Is that 100% true that you are such and such and such? And always the answer is like, actually, no, because there are evidence that show that you are not who you think you are. And or the third question could be, what skills of area do I feel that I'm lacking? And what can I do to start improving it? So these questions can help you to move from, I feel like an imposter, stop, to what is really going on. And then once you know the root cause of that, then you can start looking for solutions and start fixing it. And that is crucial to move from awareness to what can I do about it. So think about it. Women especially, and immigrant women, I found, and we're navigating in workplaces that wasn't necessarily designed for us. So when we don't fit the traditional mold, we often internalize that is what is wrong with us, rather than seeing for what it is a set of thoughts that we can change. And sometimes, and most of the time, it's something about the environment or something about the society that makes us believe there's something wrong with us. But what about if we also see this from a different perspective? What if feeling like imposter wasn't a bad thing? What if you only feel like imposter syndrome when you are stepping out of your comfort zone? And what happens when you come out of your comfort zone? Your growth. So instead of asking why me, trying to asking why not me? Because these moments of doubt might have actually been a sign that you're growing as a person, and you're the person that you're meant to be. And that is one way to move you towards that actionable points or actionable steps, little steps that you need to take to get away from that syndrome that you think that you have. So for me, I realized that staying in the cycle of recognizing imposter syndrome without taking action was keeping me stuck for many, many years. So I decided to move imperfectly, but I moved. I spoke up in meetings, and guess what? Every time that I was doing it, my voice with the doubt was getting quieter and quieter. And this is something that I want to challenge you. So stop waiting to feel confident. And that's one of the biggest things. Oh, I don't feel confident in this. Stop waiting for the doubt to go away, because confidence isn't something that magically happens. It's something that you build through action and imperfect action. So it's what is one thing that you are holding is holding you back because of those thoughts. So I'm going to give you like 1 minute and write one thing, if you have a pen and paper, to think about what is that top 3 things or one thing that you haven't done because of it. Let's wait for literally a minute because we need to rush. But I want you to have those props there that you can think about later. And I can give you examples, maybe speaking up in a meeting, reaching out for a mentor, applying for that role that feels like a stretch. That is the first thing that you can do to silence that imposter syndrome. Let me see your faces because I can't at the moment. So are you good? Let me see. Where are you? Where are you? There you go. Yeah? Okay, good. Okay, cool. So let me just move again. Okay, cool. So keep that there. And then I want to close in a way the first takeaways that I want you to take from this. First, imposter syndrome is not a fixed syndrome. It's thoughts and feelings that can be managed and can be changed. Awareness is important. So identify that you have some sort of things and identify what it exactly is important. But action is the only way to truly cure the syndrome. And also, I want to get friendly with that feeling of imposter syndrome as a sign of growth and not as a sign of weakness. That is the 3 things I want you to think about it. But let me give you one more thing about that. And it's the real impact of listening to that inner critic or that inner voice that is telling you that you have that syndrome. Because self-doubt can feel like a heavy weight that holds you back from showing up fully. And that happened to me. And I remember almost saying no to presenting a project that I was leading to the steering meeting with 3 CEOs from 3 different companies. And I feel so inadequate and less like super small that for a moment I thought to ask my boss to do the presentation for me, because she was more senior than me and used to do these kind of meetings. Thank God I didn't. And I decided to have that little stretch in my comfort zone. And despite of the fear that I have, I say yes. And that was one of the best things that I could do, because that set myself super different to the rest of the people that was in the project. And I have that exposure that literally helped me to have my follow promotion. And I truly believe that that was part of it. So can anyone here relate to seeing less experienced colleagues, for example, getting promoted simply because they have the confidence to show up and advocate for themselves? How many of us have that? Like, a lot of us. I can't see you, but I know that a lot of us like, what the heck? What is that so unfair?
Come on, guys, thumbs up.
Yeah, exactly. So,
give a thumbs up for that one.
Yeah. So here's the thing: the little voice that is constantly talking and telling you you're not good enough. Who do you think you are? Why are you so slow, stupid, silly, whatever you want to put it, will never go away. Never. However, the good news is, if you have the ability to diminish that power of that inner voice and going into action and moving on, you will start building that confidence that we're getting, because you will be building evidence for that inner critic, for that syndrome to say, hey, that is not true. I did this thing and look where I am. So I'm going to move. And that is going to create opportunities for you to continue and move forward. So the real impact of listening to your inner critic will be to be stuck to where you are. So by taking actions, by saying, I'm fine, inner critic, but I'm going to move, I'm going to do that tiny little action will massively help you to do that. Now, let me just move. Well, right. So one of the most powerful tools that you can use to combat the imposter syndrome is reframing. And reframing is about changing the way you look at the situation or belief that it serves you instead of holding you back. So, for example, let's say that you think my accent is a disadvantage. I was thinking that for many, many years. And you can reframe it as my accent is a reflection or my multilingual abilities, because remember, if you are in the UK and you know another language, you know two languages, and the native speaker probably just have one, and very, not good sometimes, right? Which make me a valuable person in any company. So by changing the narrative, you are shifting from focusing on what is wrong with you to what are your strengths. Because believe me, being bilingual or multilingual is one of your strengths. So let's take a moment for a second, again, another minute, and I want you to think about a negative thought or self-doubt that often you pop-ups in your head. And I want you to write it down. I will give you a minute. And be honest. It's not like, oh, I'm not very capable to do this. No, because the inner critics say, don't be stupid. Don't even try. Who do you think you are, Patricia? Look, write it down, as you hear it. And let's give you a few seconds. Okay, so hopefully you have...
You're kind of inside my mind, Patricia. It's exactly my thoughts, usually. I mean, I'm working on that, but I want just to comment that it's like exactly like that.
Yeah, that is what I want you to put it, like brutally raw, like it is. Because when I asked for this exercise and then I replied back, like, what do you have? It's like, oh, you are not very capable to do this. It's like, and then when we dig a little bit, it's like, don't be stupid, or who do you think you are? It's like, no one is going to believe you. No one is going to believe you that you know. Stop doing it. That is what I want. So if you're ready with that, I just need we reframe this thought and focusing your strength. Think about that. I will give you example. So if you say, I'm not good enough to apply for that leadership role, because it's like, who do you think you are? Like, really? You can reframe it as, I have unique experience and skills that could bring fresh ideas to that leadership role. Just by your background of, being in different communities or coming from different communities, it will give you that. So think about. And I will give you an example what you are thinking. I used to think that because of my English being my second language, I wasn't going to be a good facilitator in big, effective meetings, which is one of the things that I need to do for my job as a head of project management on a regular basis, by the way, like almost every day. And I was thinking, you talk too much, you don't go direct to the point. How are you going to manage a bunch of technical guys that know more than you, and they are native? They will eat you because they are all native speakers. So I started reframing that thought in a slightly different way, and I started to say I have the ability to see things from a high level perspective. That is one of my strengths, so I can keep people on track. So when people go away, I have the capacity to we are going away, and put people back into the room, and then make sure that we have results for that meeting. And that was much better than speaking perfect English, to be honest with you. And that was in my mind all the time until it became a belief. And that was true. And I know it's true because because of my accent and my way of saying, I figured out ways to keep the attention of people and concentrate on what we were discussing. And that's one of the things. So one of the tricks of reframing effectively is not going to the complete opposite, like I'm the queen of facilitating meetings, because you're not going to believe. So if you add just a word like jet at the end of the same sentence, you can see how you move towards the change, right? If I follow the same example that I gave you before, I'm not good enough to apply for that leadership role yet, just yet. This will imply that you are on your way to get a point to when you are ready for it, rather than stop, I'm not good, that's it. But when you add the jet, means that you are actually learning something and you're taking actions on it. So that simple thing can massively help you with curing that syndrome that we talk about. We don't have that syndrome, right? And then let's talk about confidence again. And I said to you before, confidence isn't something that you wait to feel. It's something that you build through action. So every time you step out of a person, you are telling yourself, I can do hard things. Is that someone asked something? Because I can't see it.
Let me check here.
Just I hear a bling.
Yeah,
Okay.
I heard
No,
as
no,
well.
no. Is that I have 50 minutes, so I need to rush. Just give me a sec. Let me just go back. Okay. So where am I? Yeah. So every time that you step up, you know that will make you think that, okay, I can do little harder things. And many people believe that confidence is something that you're either born with or no. And that is not true. Confidence is a skill that grows as you take in and gain experience. I give you some research in psychology shows that when we succeed at small tasks, our brain reward us with a sense of accomplishment. And if you're reinforcing that belief, you can handle even bigger challenges. So how I'm telling you to build your confidence through competence. But what that means. So true confidence comes with developing skills and achieving and mastering to practice and experience. So it's not about feeling ready. It's about taking action and building expertise and proving to yourself that you can handle it. And the more you practice and succeed, the more confident you become. So if I'm scared of doing presentation, the only way that you're going to learn is saying yes to presentations. And yeah, the first one might be messy. You will learn from that. And the second one will be and you will learn from that. And little by little, it will become a lot better. And I have a client that she was scared of doing presentations. She'd rather do writing beautiful reports. But for the next job that she wanted, she have to do a presentation. So two presentation. So she did it, and she used some of these techniques. She reframed her fears, and then she went and she smashed it. She got the offer from both of the jobs. And in her works, she said, I feel I was levitating with confidence. So how you do it, take a task that you haven't done before. Volunteer yourself for that specific initiative at work. Take a small task. Maybe you don't like doing networking, but you know it's important. You don't need to go to a big, massive presentation or event. Just have a virtual chat with one of your colleagues and start from there, but start with something, because that practice is the one that is going to tell you to take you to where you want to go. If it's a new skill, for example, look for short courses when you can see, is this really what I want to go? And then with competencies or competence creates that confidence, because it gives you the evidence for you to believe that it's possible that is you. So every time that you successfully complete a task, you improve that skill, you prove yourself you are more than capable. So it's like a muscle. The more you exercise by trying, failing, learning, and succeeding, the stronger it becomes. And that steps might be messy, you might be mistakes, but you take those mistakes like something that I can learn from it, rather than what people is going to say. And then there comes the reframing of like, hold on a minute, I just did this better, I fell in this, doesn't matter, I learn, next time is going to be different. And one of the things that I always say is, what your unique selling point? And I will say, embrace who you are. And you're like, here we go again, embrace who you are, be authentic. And that's something that a lot of people say. But, in my case, with my immigrant background, I don't consider that is a limitation for me. It's a strength because I have resilience, I have adaptability, I have a diverse perspective, and I bring to the table something different that a native person doesn't. So when I was working in a big project across Europe and Asia, my understanding of the cultural nuances helped me a lot to bridge the communication gaps. Because when I was talking with the Italian, with the French, with the German, and they were like, a little bit, I don't know how to explain that. And I understood them. And I was like, oh, are you talking about X, Y, and Z? And they're like, yeah. And, that makes me create a lot of trust from them, create a lot of confidence in me that, right, I can manage this, and give that extra bit that I needed to kind of like show off in a better way. And it's happening with me right now when all my teams are from different countries. And some of the German, I work for a German company. Now I'm afraid to talk English, and I'm like, listen, any of us is a native. The only difference between you and me is I have more practice, but don't worry, we will be fine. And that is creating this kind of connection that will help. And when you understand the power of being different, you create your own brand. And to make the most of your strength, you need to own them and communicate what is that thing different. So let's write down 3 things that make you unique. And I give you 1 minute quickly. Like, imagine that you are that super confident. Maybe you're not feeling right now, but you're super confident, and you put away for a second that inner voice telling you, no, you're not. Imagine that goes away to take a coffee and you are in that room. So what you will say to you, what are those things? Maybe that you are adaptable, maybe that you are multilingual, that you have, I don't know, you're good creating networking or relationships. Let's wait. And I need to move because I realized that we have 9 minutes, right? Okay, so let me just go here. So what I want you to do then is write it down as a homework after this, is create a statement that highlight that value for maybe a potential employer. My example before about my English and how that helped me with multicultural projects, if I translate that in a statement, I can say my ability to adapt quickly and communicate across cultures make me an asset to any global team. So I know that if I'm going to interview on a project with multicultural, I will be the first one raising my hand saying, I can handle that, right? And the last thing that I wanted to tell you is how to develop a growth mindset. Do you remember that at the beginning I say, what about if you see this syndrome as the first signal of growing, the first signal that you're going out of your comfort zone? And then is where the growth happens. So a growth mindset is the belief that your abilities and intelligence can be developed through hard work, through good strategies to get feedback from others. And this mindset, when you have a growth mindset, it makes a massive difference because, especially for us, when you are facing challenges in your career, you can really hang on that growth mindset. So let me tell you a little bit of examples between a growth mindset and a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. I'll give you a couple of examples. A fixed mindset can say or can have the belief that, let me just find one. Let me think. I think I have one that I put here. Just give me a second. Yeah, here's one. Could be, this is too hard. I'm not just good at this. That is a fixed mindset. However, a growth mindset can say, this is hard, but I can figure it out. with practice or with help. Let me see who can help. Hey, I don't know how to do this. Can you please help me? So it's exactly the same person, but the outcome of that will be completely different. Criticism could be, in a fixed mindset, could be seen as a personal attack and a proof that I'm not good enough. However, a growth mindset can take that as a feedback, a valuable feedback to, okay, Patricia saying this about what I did or what this report. Let me see which way I can improve in that. And again, that will take you to a completely different space than, hey, being defensive about what they say. For a fixed mindset, failure means I'm not cut out for this. And stop. I'm never good enough for that. However, growth mindset accept failure as a stepping stone to success or to growth, which is the thing that I'm telling you from the very, very beginning. Accept the failures, accept that it's going to be a little bit messy, but move forward with action. And that helps a lot. So what can we do to master and what that matter to us, why that is important? So we internalize a lot of challenges like us, like language barriers, like cultural differences, systemic biases, patriarchy, personal shortcomings, and then you start thinking, never will be able to fit in here. And as I showed you before with the previous example, what that is doing is stopping you to achieve your full potential, because you stop there. It's like, I'm not good enough. Stop. I'm not going to try. I'm not going to think about it. So with this growth mindset, these challenge are reframed as opportunities. I can learn the local culture. I can develop better my communication skill. I can use my diverse background as a strength, as I show you in my example. And a growth mindset is the game changer, because it shifts you from what I can do to what I can learn to do. And that helps us to move from this self-doubt into action, which is where, again, real confidence builds. So I want you to think here for 1 minute again, because I have very little time. Well, maybe put it as a question. What is one area of your career where you have been holding you in this fixed mindset? And think about, how can I reframe that with a growth mindset? Yeah. I will leave that to you there. And I want to show you in this part what we learned. So we have covered how to reframe these negative thoughts, why and how to take action and feel confidence. Remember, confidence with competence. And then you build your case, you build your evidence to tell to that inner critic, hey, I'm doing well. Thank you very much, but I'm going to try a little bit more. We talk about how to embrace your unique strength, because that will be the way that you will be different to everybody. And then how to keep that with a growth mindset consistently. And all of these will work if you consistently move toward taking those leader actions and leader steps to become that person that you want to be. And stop saying that you have imposter syndrome. I did a story before starting here, and I was almost going to say I'm actually going to talk about the imposter syndrome, but at the moment I have the imposter syndrome because I'm very nervous. And the reality was, no, I don't have imposter syndrome. I'm just nervous because it's the first time that I'm talking about this in this way with this audience. And that was what's happening. And then I was able to think about what I'm nervous and work on that, and not saying I'm going to fail, because who am I to talk about imposter syndrome if I suffered that before? So last thing from my side, before we go, I'm always looking for immigrant women. If you know someone that really wants to take action, that create an action plan to move into the right direction. And because you came here, I will be more than happy to have just a strategy call, half an hour with you, talk to you and see either if I can help you, and if not, I can, we can have a conversation about, for you to take away any liable moment, any tip, any trick that you can implement from the day after we talk in your career. So that's all for me. Oh, thank you very much. And
Oh my God.
I was like, the other way.
I'm so sorry about that. We have trouble here, technical issues, and actually I can't stand the call. And oh my God, this is so good. I'm kind of kind of like you kind of was inside my mind. And yes, you have all the right to speak about, because you went through that and you talk so amazingly about that. Like it's anyone has any question, by the way,
Yeah.
we still have 5 minutes. Or anyone want to add something, you can unmute yourself. So
yeah, any question?
any questions?
Otherwise, you can connect with me
Connect
in
with
this way as
Patricia.
well. So